Hello ladies and gentlemen, back when I was in college, I was given the assignment of an oral presentation. The topic I chose was the dangers of compact fluorescent lamps. Since I've been out of college, I've been able to research this topic more and put together this documentary. I'm going to show you a number of slides and some of my source documents so you can verify my claims. The video is going to be rather large, so I'm going to have to break it off into several parts. Let me get started. Spark of Insanity, the dangers of compact fluorescent lamps. Reported benefits of CFLs. CFLs are claimed to provide light that is equivalent in quality and in brightness to incandescent lamps, but use only a fraction of the power. CFLs are supposed to last thousands of hours and thus outlast incandescent bulbs. One of the most important aspects of CFL mandates is that a CFL is supposed to be better for the environment. Unfortunately, all these claims are false. Mercury is probably one of the most well-known concerns with CFLs. Mercury is a bioaccumulating toxin that damages all tissues and organs. What bioaccumulating is referring to is the fact that mercury will continue to store itself in the body. It doesn't flow freely as other substances would. Mercury can create a perpetual reaction that destroys neurons. Neurons are your brain cells. It will destroy one brain cell and continue to destroy others. Mercury attacks the endocrine and nervous systems. Autism, memory loss, inflammation, depression, thyroid problems, Alzheimer's, adrenal disorders, anxiety, Parkinson's, and multiple sclerosis have all been linked or are known to be aggravated by mercury. Not all mercury in CFLs is the elemental form. Much can be the harmful methyl-mercury vapor that is a potent inhalable neurotoxin. How much mercury? Virtually every CFL design requires mercury. CFLs by design are supposed to have at most 8 milligrams of mercury, usually around 5 milligrams, but that is not always the case. In one study done by the Maine DEP, some CFLs had over 3 times as much, let's say 18 milligrams. Due to mass production, cheap labor in developing nations, and the mad dash to meet subsidized demand, many CFLs have been found to have over 30 milligrams of mercury, which is more than 1,000 watt lamps of other designs. According to Northeast Waste Management Officials Association, 66% of all CFLs sold in 2004 had a mercury content between 0 and 5 milligrams, 30% had between 5 and 10, and 4% had between 10 and 50. How much mercury is dangerous? The amount of mercury conservatively in one CFL, let's say 5 milligrams, can still poison 6,000 gallons of water according to Stanford University and MSNBC. To absorb the mercury in one CFL to a level of safety, or 300 nanograms per cubic meter, you would need over 16,667 cubic meters of soil. That's a figure extrapolated from data from the Maine DEP. It has been accepted that 1 gram of mercury can poison a 20-acre lake. It is known that bioaccumulative toxins are actually more concentrated as you work your way up a food chain. Thus, a fish could have 150,000 times as much mercury as the water it lives in. This is an article discussing the 6,000 gallon figure. This is a PDF file sponsored by the government warning consumers about the dangers of mercury, which contained the 150,000 times concentration figure. Evaporation of mercury in the atmosphere. According to a report compiled by the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, 1/3 of the mercury in a CFL can be released within 8 hours. Hotter air temperatures like those found in the summer months will greatly increase the rate of evaporation. According to the report, 17 to 40% of mercury had made its way into the atmosphere after a 2-week period. In similar research, air that is around a broken CFL can be contaminated for a period of months. On December 2nd, 2010, Germany's Federal Environmental Agency found that mercury levels in the air around a broken CFL was actually 20 times higher than regulations allow, and would stay that way for a period of up to 5 hours after breakage. This is similar information in its original form. Brandy Bridges is probably one of the most important cases of CFL dangers. Brandy Bridges lived in Maine. A CFL broke in a room used by her daughter on March 12, 2007. After hearing concerns of mercury, she had the room professionally cleaned by a hazardous materials team. The cost was $2,004.28, which would be over $2,400 today. The cost of repair was not covered by her homeowner's insurance. The Department of Environmental Protection of Maine checked her home for mercury. What they found was shocking. This is an actual chart from the report. As you can see, mercury was scattered throughout her home. The bag which held cleanup debris was 556, or over the 300 safe level. What's really shocking is the carpet where the ball broke was on a multitude of times beyond the 300 safe level figure. 1,939 is what they quoted. This is a picture of Brandy Bridges, and this is an article discussing her case. The Maine DEP report. Due to no standardized knowledge of cleanup procedures or the dangers of mercury, the DEP in Maine conducted a 206-page report full of damaging evidence. It's still available online and has plenty of vitals and visuals showing a clear mercury threat. This is the actual webpage. You can download the report. It's not just a study from Brandy Bridges' home. It's an actual scientific experiment conducted by the DEP. This is the cover page. And this is a sentence essentially saying that 300 nanograms of mercury were often exceeded. Excursions were over 25,000, over 50,000, and also possibly over 100,000 over the breakage of just a single compact fluorescent lamp. Some findings. results found that a broken CFL could leave a mercury level of over 133,955 nanograms. It was known that even after 7 days and 4 vacuuming sessions with an agitator vacuum, mercury levels would still peak over 800. Maximum levels were over 5,679. This would mean that more mercury potentially was present than initially detected. This is one of their scenarios, one of their experiments. They found that when they broke a bulb on a carpet, vacuumed it with a vacuum, 1 foot above the breakage site, there still was 133,955 nanograms of mercury. At 5 feet, the air's concentration was 23,720 nanograms. It took over 1,500 minutes for their sniffer device to get readings which were below 300. The 1, 8, and 24-hour averages were all above 300. They took that same piece of carpet and vacuumed it 4 times. 7 days later, tested it again. At 1 foot, numbers were 5,679 nanograms. At 5 feet, 1,186. It took over 1,600 minutes to get readings below 300, and they still would spike over 800. As you can see, 1, 8, and 24 hours still show numbers which were above 300 as well. This is the maximum amount of concentration they were able to pull. The last 2 vacuuming sessions are in yellow at the top, and the other sessions still show numbers above 300. They took the vacuum and worried that it was contaminated, so they wiped it down with wet wipes and they removed the bag, but still parts of the vacuum showed concentrations above the 300 safe figure. Another one of their experiments was try to eliminate as much mercury as possible. They broke the bulbs on a wood floor, ventilated the room, cleaned up the glass in larger pieces by hand. Smaller pieces they used things like index cards, tape, and wet wipes. Try to make sure everything was as clean as possible, but still at 1 foot they were getting readings as high as 17,569. and readings at 5 feet as high as 765. They redid the experiment, this time had the bulbs on 1 hour prior to breakage. What they found is it still was possible to evaporate more mercury into the atmosphere. They took a Kenmore vacuum, vacuumed up a broken CFL, and tried cleaning it to the best of their ability. Still, parts of the vacuum were contaminated. They show contaminated parts in bold here. This is an actual photograph of how they actually broke the CFLs. As you can see, the gentleman is wearing a hazmat suit, the room is sealed off, and there's plenty of scientific equipment all around him. Just something to think about. Leaky packages. In a recent study, broken bulbs still in the bubble packaging can still leak mercury vapors. You would actually need 3 more layers of bubble packaging to prevent leaks. And a separate Brussels study, they found the only package that kept mercury vapor emissions below permissible exposure levels as defined by state and federal authorities was a double box with zip enclosure, foil plastic laminate bag between the cardboard layers. Now, most people don't have these materials in their home and they're not willing to pay for them just to own a light bulb. You can verify my information by looking at this article. Other toxic substances in CFLs. There's been very little research on other toxic substances that are currently and must be included in CFLs. I haven't seen much studies done into lead, but we do know that there's arsenic in the electronics. Arsenic is a concern because it's an active ingredient in many pesticides. Phenols in the circuit boards, cyanide in metal processing, phosphorus which must be included in CFLs, cadmium. Some interesting things about cadmium. 1, most of it's radioactive. 2, cadmium was actually banned from indicator bulbs. On your automobile, your blinker bulbs can no longer contain cadmium. Hexavalent chromium is another chemical that gets environmentalists very upset, and polybrominated biphenyls, which weren't in CFLs, the CFLs would probably catch fire. Toxic smog. This is some of the most scary information I have. In a recent study out of Germany, it was found that CFLs used today are emitting a smog of toxic substances. The report advises that the bulb should not be left on for extended periods, particularly near someone's head, as they emit poisonous materials when switched on. Peter Braun, who carried out the test at Berlin's A-Lab laboratory, said, "For such carcinogenic substances, it is important that they're kept as far away as possible from the human environment." The German scientists claimed that several carcinogenic chemicals and toxins were released when the environmentally friendly compact fluorescent lamps were switched on, including phenol, naphthalene, and styrene. I also heard reports of toluene. Naphthalene, only if you could save some of that, perhaps you could run a torch. Andreas Kirchner of the Federation of German Engineers said, "Electrical smog develops around these lamps. I, therefore, use them only very economically. They should not be used in unventilated areas and definitely not in the proximity of the head." This is the Telegraph article discussing those findings. And that is the end of the first part of this video. Stay tuned for part 2. Take care.